What's up, Internet? My name is Attack Slug, and welcome to my Monday Night Raw reactions for the week of March the 21st, 2016. Let's talk about this Raw before WrestleMania. And just right in the beginning, out of the way, I don't know when this was, but somebody in the crowd had a Bring Back Vince Russo sign. They were in Philly. Vince Russo lives in, like, Long Island. I gotta imagine that was either Vince Russo or someone related or friends with Vince Russo, because, honestly, 2016, no one actually thinks that. Seriously. Also, there was a hashtag Bring Back Titus sign, so thumbs up on that for that guy. Anyway, this show... What the fuck? The show starts with, what the fuck are you guys doing? What? The game fucking broke itself. Holy shit. They're losing their damn minds. That was fucking weird. Show starts with Stephanie coming out, some booze, and then out comes Roman Reigns, who apparently only walks down the ramp now. And hey, that's, that's a change if they're gonna make him just, a legit badass, and they also want to avoid him getting punched by fans, like, say, Braun Strowman. Perhaps having him come down the ramp is a smart move. He comes out and kind of just, says, "Oh, you're not gonna slap me," and then you're not gonna do whatever, and I'm the authority now, like... I think they've kind of half got the memo on Roman Reigns. And the half of the memo they're missing is, unless you think he can actually be, legitimately on at least on the level of John Cena, don't let him talk. He's bad at it. Let him punch people. He's good at that. It's not hard. It's wrestling. Anyway, speaking of wrestling, the first match on the show, the best match on the show, the match that I would have hoped would have been a Mania match, but it's on Raw, was AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, putting on a fucking clinic on Raw. Hell of a match. Now, it had a distraction finish, so that was unfortunate, and out came Chris Jericho to distract AJ Styles, and then Owens picked up the victory. That'll come into play later on in the evening, and there's an ongoing thing going on here because after the match, Owens cuts a promo saying that he's got no opponent for KO Mania, and, he's, just doing his heel shtick, which he's very good at. And out comes Dolph Ziggler, who I thought lost last week, and therefore didn't really have a spot on the Mania card. But, granted, from what I recall from that thing last week with The Authority, is that if he won, he could pick any match he wanted. If he lost, he was off the card, or if he lost, he just lost. Like, I don't know. I haven't gone back to watch that, because I don't care that much, but it seems weird he can just put himself in another match for reasons. Especially that Steph would allow it to happen for, even though she was so adamant last week about him not... Whatever. Anyway, The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, and Sami Zayn come out, and they all want a shot at Owens' IC title, and he's like, no, we're going to have you guys do a triple threat, and then whoever wins that triple threat will face me at WrestleMania. So, we'll get to that later. We get a backstage segment, or not backstage, well, a barroom segment with Dean Ambrose and Terry Funk, you egg-sucking dog. Which, always glad to see the 71-year-old Terry Funk doing something. But here's the thing. Because Terry Funk was Chainsaw Charlie, spoilers, he gave Dean Ambrose a chainsaw. And this is an ongoing thing, because last week, Mick Foley, a.k.a. Cactus Jack, a.k.a. Mankind, a.k.a. Dude Love, gave him the Cactus Jack barbed wire baseball bat. So here's the problem you're going to run into here, is that, yes, in that match between Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, certainly you can pay off the barbed wire bat. That's a prop. It's not, you can use fake barbed wire. You can hit him, in a way that's not going to completely fucking eviscerate him. How do you pay off the chainsaw? It's a fucking chainsaw. Like, you need a legit fake chainsaw, because otherwise the payoff is legitimately cutting off one of Brock's arms. I don't think it's going to happen. So, that's weird. Also, you've had two of the greatest hardcore legends of all time in Foley and Funk. Like, do you have a third one next week? And who do you even get that's going to top Foley and Funk. Like, those are the icons. Like, who else? Like, Sandman? Like, fuck. I'm not sure who else you think is going to be in that position who would represent that style better than those two guys. So perhaps it's just those two. Anyway, moving on. We get the League of Nations doing a thing with the New Day promo thing before a match. And honestly, whoever said, hey, the New Day, they're funny, and the funniest thing that they do is say booties. Let's just go all in on the booty stuff. And it's kind of just getting tired at this point. Like, the New Day were great. I think a lot of guys are great when they're hungry, right? When they're hungry and they just don't give a fuck anymore, and they're going to get over in any way they possibly can. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, oh well. And that's great. And they were they were changing it up every couple of weeks with something new. And now the New Day is out there on YouTube shilling for fucking Supercard, and it's just, they've corporatized it. They've monetized it and corporatized it, and it's not great anymore. And this segment in particular was kind of a perfect example of why it's not working anymore. And I hope they change things up at Mania, because I like the New Day. Like, those guys are real talented. I think having them against the League of Nations is not the greatest matchup in the world. As much as I like guys like Rusev, who is fantastic. So speaking of, they had Big E versus Rusev, which, you know, was a fun match. Like, it worked. And those guys had a pretty good match at pay-per-view, like, a couple years back, when Rusev was still undefeated and before Big E was in the New Day. So, those guys can work a good match, and I enjoy that part of it. And Big E won, so there you go. Anyway, speaking of Big, out comes he's a heel, he's a face, he's a heel, he's a face. It's the Big Show. That's whenever I hear his theme song, a heel, a face, a heel, a face. Anyway, the Big Show comes out for the Andre Battle Royal, which is on the pre-show, so kind of who cares. And looking at the previous winners that when they had Cesaro win and fucking did jack shit, and then had Big Show win and fucking did jack shit. And then out come the Social Outcasts to interrupt the Big Show, who was kind of saying, hey, I'm a big guy, I'm not that great because Andre's great, but I try and be great. It was kind of very symptomatic of the problems with the Big Show. And then out come these Social Outcasts to cut their promo. I did enjoy Adam Rose calling out Curtis Axel for his yee, saying it was stupid, and Axel, like, kind of still doing it, which is really funny. Like, if they can be, like, more of that stuff, rather than their fucking weird random shit the past couple weeks, I'll enjoy them, you know, a bit more. But this segment, though, like, they came out and they kind of beat down the Big Show, and out comes Kane to make the save. I guess Kane's going to be in the Battle Royal. And then, uncharacteristic of Big Show, goes to the second rope to be like, yeah! And Kane's like, hey, buddy. And he's like, what? And he just turns around and gets slammed onto the... Yeah, it was dumb. It was dumb. Like, the whole thing was dumb. And outside of Adam Rose calling out Curtis Axel, like, I enjoyed none of it. Like, I understand you gotta, you know, build that match for fucking reasons, but I can almost guarantee that whoever wins that match, they're not gonna fucking do anything with. Anyway, speaking of matches with guys they haven't done anything with, the next was Chris Jericho and Fandango! Because, hey, Fandango, this is a WrestleMania rewind, because that was a match that happened at Mania, and that Jericho totally lost. They were going to push Fandango, who was over for about 5 minutes. And that's a whole different... Like, I could get into a discussion on how they fucked up Fandango, and how they're fucking up Tyler Breeze. That's a whole different thing that would take way too long. But the short version is... Fandango coming out and being like, hey, remember this thing on Raw this week? Was like, no, they never should have... When that got over, it should have been Fandango saying, no, that is not dancing. That is not proper dancing. He should have remained a heel instead of having WWE. WWE is like the high school girl getting invited to prom by the head of the football team every time they get any kind of mainstream attention. They're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And they ran it into the ground in a week. When you've got Michael Cole fucking Fandangoing, no, you've killed it. So, yeah. They should have kept his heel run, saying, no, only only I may dance, and then dance properly, not fucking remind us, hey, remember this? Fuck us. Anyway, I got distracted. Anyway, quick match. Jericho wins because there's a distraction from AJ Styles, who then challenges Jericho to Mania, but apparently that's not happening. Or, according to Jericho on Twitter, that match is not happening. So what was all this fucking build-up for? I have no fucking idea. Anyway, next up is this match, which this was Kevin Owens being a great heel. He is great at being a heel. He's like, hey, it's time for the Triple Threat #1 Contenders match, and it contains Sin Cara and Stardust and Zack Ryder. So when he asked Steph to have that match set up, he didn't say who was going to be in it, which is real funny. So this is very much when Bret Hart had his heel run in WCW, and he won the U.S. title, and Mean Gene asked him, okay, who's going to be the first guy to challenge for your U.S. title? He's like, El Dandy. And Mean Gene's like, what? I missed that finish. And hey, woo woo woo, you know it. And Mean Gene was like, wait, El Dandy's a cruiserweight. And then Bret Hart utters the famous line, who are you to doubt El Dandy? He's a real chin-up guy. Anyway, so there was that stuff, was fantastic. Great heel work on commentary. And then, of course, out comes Ziggler and Sami Zayn and The Miz. And here's where it gets confusing, because apparently the referee decided, hey, disqualification. Even though it was a triple threat match, of which there are no DQs in a triple threat match. So how, even though there's more guys coming out fighting outside the ring, how is there a DQ? That doesn't make any sense. It goes back to all of what I've been saying for the past fucking who knows how long. Logic. Logic, logic, logic. Be logical, and I'll be 100% behind you in what you are doing. Anyway, this eventually goes back to Steph, who sets up a 7-man ladder match for Mania. So those 6 guys, plus Owens, having their match for the IC belt at Mania, much like they had that IC ladder match last year. Anyway, Stephanie decides to leave. She's like, Roman Reigns is dangerous. I'm getting the fuck out of here. And Triple H, who wasn't there, totally was there, backstage in a limo, and they're going to leave, right? So, again, logic. So Roman Reigns apparently had just been standing behind this fucking steel door for who knows how long. Who knows how, like, hours at this point, right? And they're in the car, they're getting ready to leave, and the door raises. And there stands Roman Reigns. And once again, I say to you, logic. Because anybody in their right mind, in a wrestling universe, would have just fucking floored it, ran him over, or he would have moved, and then left. Like, you wouldn't have waited for him to walk up, pull him out of the fucking car, Steph's going, oh my god! Like, that wouldn't have happened. Like, it fucking doesn't make any goddamn sense. He slams him around, then Triple H gets back in the car, they speed away. Like, you wanted to have that moment, that bit of, okay, here's, you know, the epic moment of your conquering hero, Roman Reigns, and because of logic, it fucking looks stupid. I'm sorry, it just looks stupid. So, like, I'm all for him being awesome and beating up guys and being a badass, but just don't do stupid shit. Don't let him talk, and just have a logic to it, have a consistency to it, and I'll get behind it. I've been saying that for months. Anyway, I'm getting long-winded here. We had Charlotte versus Natalya in a Roadblock rematch. On commentary was Becky and Sasha. Charlotte wins. Whatever. Somewhere in here we had a Snickers commercial with Alicia Fox and Naomi and Chrisley Knows Best, who turned into Natalya when he ate his Snickers, and it wasn't, like, it was as bad as that thing was with fucking Subway. It was just terrible. Also, Alicia Fox is going to be on the opposite team on the same team. There's an 8 diva thing at Mania, and it makes no fucking sense. So, I'll get into that later. Tomorrow. Next day. Whenever. Anyway, Stan the Lariat Hansen Hall of Fame. Well-deserved, as I've discussed on this channel before. Then, we're in the third hour here, right? The third hour has Bubba Ray Dudley versus R-Truth. We're 2 weeks from Mania. What the fuck are you doing? Anyway, Bubba wins, and they beat him down. Out comes Goldust. Out comes the Usos. They tease a table spot. Nobody cares. This is gonna be on the fucking pre-show. Whatever. Then, more announcements. Here comes Vince, goddamn, by God, McMahon, to announce that if Taker does not win at WrestleMania, this will be his last WrestleMania, which would be a much more significant threat if he didn't already work SummerSlam at Hell in a Cell this year. So, big deal. Like, he'll work house shows. I don't fucking know. Like, they didn't say, oh, your career is on... They didn't say career, right? They only said it'll be your last WrestleMania. And when it comes to those kinds of stipulations, they never actually stick. So, there's no tension there. That whole thing, if Brock had never broken the streak, and it was Shane gets control versus the streak, how much more intense would that be? Now it's like, well, there's no more streak, so fucking who cares? Whatever. Anyway, your main event of the evening, and this crowd appropriately chanting, "This is boring," for Dean Ambrose versus Braun Strowman. And all the interesting stuff happened after the match, not in the match. But basically this is hey, Dean can fight big guys, and because of that, he hit him with a chair, got DQ'd. Braun Strowman wins this match, and then Dean Ambrose goes, crazy with a fucking chair, whatever. And then apparently after the show, Luke Harper fucked up his knee, much like Seth Rollins did. And then Braun Strowman got, like, uppercutted by a fan at ringside, which is, like, weird. So that was, I don't know. That was Raw. Next week's from fucking New York, Brooklyn, baby. And that should be interesting. I'm curious to see what they do with Roman Reigns in Brooklyn, because that crowd's gonna eat him alive. They didn't really they didn't care for him. They minimized his appearances here in Philly, so I can only imagine it'll be the same thing going into Mania from the Go Home show next week. Anyway, I'm Attack Slug. This has been my long-winded, rambling video for the Raw of the 21st of March, 2016. Thanks for watching. More videos every day. Oh, to the outside. Holy fucking shit. I'll be damned. And I'll see you next time right here on this channel. And I'm out.